Welcome back to another episode of Can't Take Your Call Right Now with me, Lauren Reeves, and just me. Yep, it's happening, guys. I'm a solo podcaster today. I've ditched my host. I've thrown him in the bin. There's no more Harry Monkhouse. No, I'm joking. Harry's away for work. He is traveling right now. He is in Dublin, and we did not get the chance to record. I think this just happens, right? It's the start of a new quarter. We had the Easter bank holiday weekend. Everything was just absolutely thrown off. And so before we knew it, it was Sunday night and we were like, right, we need to record because episode go live Tuesday. And Harry went, yeah, I'm traveling to Dublin. So let me get there. Let me get to work. Let me get to the office, figure out everything going on. And then we can figure out time to record Monday evening. And I was like, Harry, mate, all good. You let me know. And there was no time. There was no time for Harry to record. And so I said, mate, don't worry about it. I can do this on my own. I can talk absolute shit for at least 20 minutes. I'm sure of it. I'm sure I can get something out. So here we are. It's just me and we're going to have a little natter. And I have wrote some topics down. Let's see how long this goes for. Hopefully I can talk for at least 15 to 20 minutes so that you've got something to entertain yourself in your lovely ears rather than a quick 5 minutes. But like I said, I love to natter. I can chat shit. So I have no doubt that I'll fill your time. Normally, we always say how our weeks were, so why not tell you anyway? Let me pretend that you asked me. I've had a very chaotic week, I would say. Everything just feels a bit hectic. I don't know if anyone else is feeling like this, but I love a bank holiday weekend. I think that bank holiday weekend is a great reset. It's so nice to have 4 days. I think that people see lots of family, especially over Easter weekend. I think it's a really nice family time as well. But it always throws me off. And I think the Easter weekend, literally being right at the start of the quarter, I don't know, it's just made the quarter feel really rocky for a start. I'm not sure if anyone else is feeling this. Like, I hope to God that you are. Please let me know. But it feels just a bit chaotic. And normally I would say Q1 feels the most chaotic because you just get back from Christmas. You're all still digesting thousands and thousands of calories of food. Everyone's boozed too much, unless you're sensible and teetotal. And right decision, by the way. And so, yeah, I don't know what it is. It just feels really hectic, like I've come back from Christmas. And I just think it's because of how quick the Easter bank holiday is in comparison to, say, other times. Obviously, it depends when Easter falls. And yeah, I think that last week coming back, my team got their new books of business for the quarter. So they've got to go through, look at their accounts, look at there's any that they can't work. So they've got a bit of a slower start. And then obviously you blink and then it's the weekend and then you look down and you're like, oh my God, it's the 13th of April today. So it's obviously Monday. And I just can't believe that we're almost halfway through April. And yet we've not even had a full working week yet of this month because of the bank holiday. And it's stressing me out. I don't know how it is for anyone else. Normally it's great to jump on here and Harry says, yeah, don't worry, I feel the same. Haven't got that this time. But it's just feeling really chaotic. And then on top of that, I've got a couple of things that I'm figuring out internally for some sales QBRs. And it's our review season. So I've got, how many direct reports do I have? I've got 13 reports that I need to do their 6-monthly review for. And obviously these reviews co-align with whether they get a pay rise, whether they get a promotion. So they, they're important. I need to put a lot of detail in, and I have to do peer reviews for some of my, other managers. And yeah, I think, you just look at your to-do list and you're like, I am one person. How the fuck am I meant to get this all done? That's, I would say, kind of how I'm feeling. And then to top that off, you look at the KPIs, you look at the start for April, and it just feels messy. And I think I feel so grateful that I'm quarterly, because any of you that are monthly, please tell me how it's been. But I dread to think if we were a monthly team right now, because like I said, like, you've not even had a full working week yet, and we're going to be halfway through the quarter in 2 days' time. That's insane. So yeah, please let me know how any of you are coping with that, because I'm just grateful that I'm quarterly and I can get the team ramped up and going for the rest of the quarter. But that kind of flows quite nicely into one of the topics that I wanted to talk about today, which was sort of managing under stress, How do I cope when I'm stressed? How do I help my BDRs when they're feeling stressed? And I think that it's quite a it's a large topic, right? I'm not going to be able to give all the answers in the right way here, and I am going to miss a lot of things because it's so big. But I think I would just like to talk a bit on my experience with how I cope with stress, and also then the advice I give my BDRs basically. I like to say that I'm not a very stressed person, but I think I physically show stress more than I realize. I have what I like to call a resting sad face. Not a resting bitch face, a resting sad face. And what I mean by that is the way my face rests. I feel like I'm talking to a toddler. You obviously know what I mean by a resting sad face. But the way it is, I've got a brow that sits higher than my other eye. So like my right brow lifts higher, my left brow is more relaxed. I don't know if I can show this in the video. There you go, you can kind of see it. When I have a resting face, my face kind of just like looks sad. I'm not, and I know this sounds crazy, but everyone says to me all the time, Lauren, you okay? You okay? Everything all right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm all right. I'm good. And I think that when I'm in that state of rest, I just look so sad all the time. But I've learned that when I'm stressed, my face quite clearly exudes that I'm feeling stressed because my team will be like, hey, you okay? And it's not in that like, oh, is everything all right? If something bad happened. It's in that, okay, they obviously don't want to ask me whatever they want to ask me because they're worried about, giving me an extra thing on my plate or whatever, which is obviously showing it, which is definitely a learning for me because I don't ever want my team to feel like they can't come and approach me with a question. Not that they don't, they still do because they go, hey, can I ask you? But I've always felt that I am somebody that doesn't show stress, hides it, but in like a productive way. Like I know how to cope with my stress. And I think that as I'm getting older, I think one, you're more honest with yourself. I think I found that as I've got older, I'm happy to actually sit and look at myself and go, no, Lauren, like you actually find that difficult, or actually I'm not sure how to approach that situation, etc., etc. And I'm obviously a flawed human being, so there are times where I think I'm better than everyone. But I would say that I've got very good now at acknowledging when I need to get better at something or improve. And as I've got older, I've realized that I actually struggle with my stress more than I've realized. And I've noticed that, like I said, because I think I hold it quite physically. And I've always been somebody that calls herself a crier. I've always been like, I cry all the time. All I do is cry. Because if someone says something that upsets me, if I start feeling angry, if I'm frustrated, is would be my instant body's reaction. And again, as I've got older, I definitely don't respond through tears as much as I did when I was younger. I think that's just like figuring out my emotions. I'm much better now at attuning when I'm feeling things. But yeah, I think that I've noticed that I definitely can be much better at managing my stress. But a few things that I do to try and sort of lower how I'm feeling, wake myself up, etc., is I very much try to go and give myself space. So I always say, like, go outside and go for a walk, even if it's literally 10 minutes. If I'm in work and something has happened that makes me feel really overwhelmed and I'm thinking, God, I'm getting really frustrated by this, like, or I see a message and my instant reaction is like, why have you done that? Or what do you mean? That makes no sense. I'm like, right, pause, go for a walk. Go outside, go for a walk. And that is one of my big tips that I give my reps all the time as well, is I say to them that if you're having a call session and you're just getting bad pickup after bad pickup, which is one of those days, stop, go outside, go walk around for 10 minutes. The difference that I feel is always just, it's just incredible. I don't know how or why, but it just makes such a difference. Well, I think it's been proven, right? Like I've listened to enough podcasts to tell me that going for a walk lowers, is it cortisol? There's some sort of chemical balance that happens. I'm not going to pretend that I am a scientist that understands the way the chemicals work in my brain. But I've really found that as I've got older, I'm trying to not be reactive and I'm trying to let my trying to figure out how I'm feeling and why I'm feeling what I'm feeling. So go for a walk, go outside for 10 minutes. Then everyone has like different ways that they cope. You know, some people it's exercise. Some people it could be making themselves a really nice meal. It could be going to the cinema, watching a film, binge watching a TV series, reading, whatever. Everyone has different coping mechanisms. But I think the key thing is to actually figure out what yours is. I feel like people say all the time, go and figure out your coping mechanism. Go do this. Go. But if you don't actually know what that looks like, then how are you meant to go and do the thing that's meant to make you feel less stressed? Now, I don't think I actually still know exactly what lowers me feeling stressed. I still think that I'm figuring that out. You know, there's no instant fix that I get that I'm like, "Ah, okay, I feel so much better now." But I have found, like I said, going for the walk, but sitting down and having a conversation with myself like this, but privately, also really helps me figure out what I'm feeling. So if I get a message and I will say to myself, like, why is my instant reaction annoyance? It's like, okay, am I annoyed because I've asked them to do it several times and they still haven't done it? So I'm just getting frustrated because it's an action on their part. Or is it because they've made a suggestion that's different to my suggestion and it's making me feel inadequate, or it's making me feel like my suggestion wasn't good enough, even though it probably was? They weren't necessarily saying mine was bad, but does it feel like that's implying it? Is it an ego thing? Has it made have my ego suddenly felt a bit damaged by this? Like, is that what's happening here? So I'll question myself there. And normally I'll get down to the root cause and it will be something like, they've been asked several times to do this, why they still ask me these kind of questions. Or it will be the fact that it feels like they are criticizing me. And I think that that's a normal reaction for a lot of people, that if somebody gives you a piece of advice or they make a different suggestion to your suggestion, it's, oh, that they think that what I said isn't good enough. They think that the suggestion that I made actually wasn't a good suggestion. They think I'm rubbish. They think I'm really bad at my job. Actually, I'm fucking terrible and I should never make a suggestion ever again. That's what I think it triggers a lot of people. And I notice it in myself at points. Again, like I said, I've tried really hard to understand why I'm feeling how I'm feeling, but I'll notice that at times. I will feel that. And I think by having a conversation and really asking yourself those questions, it's really good to sort of understand how you're feeling. And it also lowers how I notice that I don't feel as stressed afterwards because I'm understanding and I'm giving reason to why I'm feeling how I'm feeling. And most of the time, and I say to my reps all the time, focus on the solution, not necessarily the problem. Focus on what you need to fix. What is it that you need to solve right now? Like, don't just look at the issue and be like, what is it you got to fix? So yeah, I find that really, really helpful. That is, wow, we're already on 13 minutes, guys. See what I mean? I knew I could yap. I knew I could chat shit for you guys for ages. This is only one of the topics. I wrote about 4 down. Genuinely thought I'd get through this really quick. Okay, I still don't want to bore your ears for too long because I imagine a lot of people much prefer podcasts with back and forth conversation. But hey, let me know in the comments. Maybe we bring some solo eps in and we let Harry do one and he just yaps. See if he can do it. I'm sure he can. It's Harry. Yeah, I think the point I'm making around stress is I've been feeling it obviously a lot in the last week. There's a lot of things on my plate. I'm trying to think about, okay, like what can I delegate? What can I not delegate? Is there things that I can say no to? Am I adding things when I don't need to be adding things? Am I saying yes at the wrong time? And I think that flows really nicely into one of the topics I did want to talk about, which was how do I cope with LinkedIn, scheduling content, when I'm feeling this way? Because the truth is I'm quite overwhelmed at the moment. I've got all these reviews that I need to do. On top of that, I think on my HR system, I think it says I have 21 tasks. So all of those are reviews. So I can't just spend 10 minutes on it and then on to the next, these are important. So I'm like, okay, I've got all my reviews to do. That's important. I can't delegate that. I need to keep on top of the day to day. How are my team performing? Are they hitting their KPIs? Where are we at to target? How's the quarter starting? How far behind are we? All of that jazz, right? So I can't really delegate that either. That's literally my job. That's what I'm paid to do. Shocking, I know. Then the next I'm thinking like, okay, what else can I delegate? And the truth is, I'm like going down the list. And I'm like, oh God, I can't delegate any of this. So then what happens is there's things that I do forget about, e.g. LinkedIn content. And I said the other week with Harry, right? I was like, yeah, I can just write a post in 10 minutes. And that's kind of how I get through, which is not sustainable. It's not healthy. For example, woke up this morning, I was like, I've got no idea what to post on LinkedIn. What should I post? Got in the office, took a picture, and was like, okay, what's something I can write about? How to have a good start as a BDR. Simple, easy. And then I write that and then I post it. Okay. I'm sat here and I'm like, I've got no idea what I'm going to post tomorrow. I've not even thought that far. And I think that when you look at people posting on LinkedIn, I don't know, this is how I definitely feel when I see other people. I think, God, like, how are they so put together? I see people that do like, oh yeah, I schedule my LinkedIn posts 2 weeks in advance so that they don't get away with me. And I just think, how are you writing 2 weeks in advance? How? Because some of my posts are quite reactive. I'm looking at what's being said. I'm looking at what's going out right now. Is there anything that I can use in my content that's quite topical? And you can't do that if you're always posting 2 weeks ahead. So, like, are you lying? Someone has to be lying. Or they genuinely are scheduling 2 weeks ahead and they also are very incredible at then being reactive. In which case, fair play. I'm thoroughly jealous of you. But two, I think that as someone who does post consistently, not as much as others in comparison, but does post consistently on LinkedIn, and as someone who I think people see as, oh, like she's really got it together when it comes to LinkedIn. She knows how to write a post. Don't worry, guys. I'm the same as you. And yes, I'm able to write posts really quickly, which is how I'm able to get them out almost every day. But I can assure you, most of the time I am on that train to Waterloo and I'm sat there going, shit, what have I not posted about in ages? What can I talk about? Is there anything going on right now? Where are we at in the quarter? Is there a day coming up? Is it like National Something Day? Like every single time. And especially because I love video content, that's why I love my videos are walk and talk videos, right? Because then I can literally record the content on my way to work, which is just so much easier. It takes 2 minutes to edit on CapCut because it's just me talking to my camera, subtitles on, bosh, LinkedIn post. So yeah, I think that when I'm going through periods like this, it's important to me to still continue with my LinkedIn, because if I don't, then I feel like I'm falling by the wayside a little bit. And that does then stress me out more. And I get frustrated because it's like, oh God, like the one thing I love doing for me is my LinkedIn. This, for example, like I do this for me. This is because I love doing this. I love talking shop. I love sort of diving into sales, how my reps performing, what's working for others, where do you think the market's going to go. I love hearing from Harry and hearing what's working for his team. Also makes me feel good about myself at times when he's like, wow, Lauren, you're so good at that. And I think, thank you, Harry. You make me feel really good about myself there. Same as I'm sure I make him feel really good about himself when he says something and I'm like, wow, Harry, love that. So yeah, I think that, again, in some not really finished point, I'm not making very finished points here. If this was an interview, I'd be failing. You'd be like, cannot make a concise point. But anyway, this is a podcast solo. So I guess the whole point is me to waffle for ages. The point I'm trying to make is, if you are feeling like you don't have everything together and you look around you and you look on LinkedIn and you see people like me who are posting and you're thinking, God, how is she able to post all the time and deal with a really manic start of the quarter? And, don't worry. I have a resting sad face. My team think that I'm crying all the time because the way my face looks. I am panic scheduling and posting on LinkedIn. And yeah, it's not all rainbows and sunshines. That's for sure. There was one more thing I really wanted to talk about. I know we're at 20 minutes, but it's a topic that I would love to speak more on with Harry, in fact, but it's just super, super topical for me. And I think it's going to be a really nice discussion point. And I would love people to get in the comments, tell me what they think, whether this is something that they are experiencing or if they have any advice, whatever. But finance and finances. I don't mean being in fintech. I don't mean working for a finance company. I mean personal finance as a salesperson. Before anything, not the FCA are going to come for me. I'm one gal with about 30 listeners. But hey, best say it anyway. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't know what I'm talking about. Haven't got any certificates. This is just my experience, what I'm doing, how I'm learning. Anyway, just for context, I grew up and I'm very working class. My dad is an electrician. My mum manages and looked after cafes. And yeah, I very much lived in a household that was quite paycheck to paycheck. In fact, I distinctly remember was quite young. I think I was like 11. My dad going and working away on site, and coming home like on the weekend or every 3 weeks if you did like a long job, because you got paid more if you went and did that. So he would go away for these periods of time and he would do that. And I remember not going on some school trips because my parents couldn't afford it. And, no issue with that. I was extremely spoiled in other ways. I danced growing up. So they paid for my dance lessons and my festivals and my competitions and my shows and the costumes and all the rest of it. So they spoiled me in other ways because the money can only go so far. And one of the things I always said when I was younger was, I want to make more money than my parents ever did. I want to make loads of money. I want to be able to say yes to my kid to go on the trip and money not be a factor. I'm saying yes because they deserve it, not because I can't afford it. So I'm saying no. For example, I'm saying no because they've been a little brat, not because I can't afford it, right? And so when I was at university, I did a journalism degree and I loved it. I've always loved, I've enjoyed writing, I've enjoyed creating things. This is where this has come from. Get to university and obviously I'm like, I need a job. And as you spoke about before, got matched by a recruiter. Here I am. Obviously now, as someone in their late 20s, I'm making more money than my parents have ever made in a year in their lifetime. I'm officially in six figures, which is crazy. I mean, I'm a BDR manager at a startup, so sadly I'm not earning what I could be earning, but I'm earning well. I'm earning very, very well. And when you look at it in comparison to my parents and what my parents have been able to earn in a year, it's fantastic. And I think that I was, always felt like, okay, I'd get here and I feel really good and I'd be like, wow, I'm rich. And then the economy is just a mess, isn't it? Cost of living crisis, paying so much just to rent a property. It's literally insane. But here I am. And yeah, this year I've really started to take my money seriously. So in 2020, I bought a house with my dad back where I'm from in Kent, very cheap. So, I'm not dropping loads of money on it or anything. And yeah, I own that house now. My brother lives there. So he contributes towards the mortgage. But I'm not, I don't rent it out privately or anything like that. It's just family living there. Obviously, I'm building equity over the years. I've had that house. It'll be 6 years in November. And obviously, like I said, not a very expensive house, but I obviously have quite a bit of equity. And I'm very fortunate that I bought it when it was a shithole. And me and my dad, being a tradie, we both did it up. So I did the paint and decorating, he did everything else. And so you managed to sort of do it relatively on a budget. I mean, it's still doing up a house, so it ain't cheap. But we did that all ourselves. You didn't have to hire really any contractors or anything like that. And now the house is valued by quite it's got a good valuation on it according to Zoopla. Not sure how accurate that is, but I'll take it. And so now I'm in a place where at some point I'm going to want to sell the house because I'm going to want to buy somewhere with my partner. And we obviously want to stay somewhere in and around London because we love it here. And so this year I was like, okay, I've lost my first buyer stamp duty freeness. That's gone. So I'm going to have to pay stamp duty. So, you start Googling and you're like, average stamp duty prices for properties in London. And obviously in my area, the average house price is like 600. So, let's be realistic. I'm probably going to be buying somewhere for 550 to 600. And by that, that's probably going to be a 2-bed flat. That's just London prices. Looking at that, stamp duty, 15 grand. And you're like, wow. For some people, that's their whole deposit if they get somewhere not in London on a 5%. Like, that's crazy. So then I'm like, okay, I need to save. I need to save now even more because the money that I've got in a deposit in the house when I sell it is, great, but we need to pay stamp duty. We need to pay even more things on top now. It's not just solicitor fees, it's this stamp duty. We've got tax, So my partner's got a deposit, he's got his, I've got mine. We don't want to buy yet. We've just moved into our new place. We're renting. We still want to just keep renting for now. This year I was like, okay, to start saving properly, I need to look after my money. And that's when I realized wow, I really, really let lifestyle creep in. And I couldn't believe it. I really thought I was good with money because I did save a bit and I've never been in credit card debt. I have credit cards, I pay them off. But I looked at my life and I was like, my life isn't lavish. I don't buy designer bags constantly. I'm not going on 20 holidays a year that are all inclusive. I was like, I feel like I live a pretty modest, definitely I would say a middle class now, realistically, but a modest lifestyle, whatever. And then now that I'm proactively saving, I realized how bad I was with lifestyle creep. And it's so easy, right? Like, yeah, buy the ticket here or get the quick Amazon parcel here, get the quick takeaway, etc., etc. So yeah, I think my first thing around this is like really audit your finances. I actually couldn't believe just the silly things I was spending money on that you just forget about, like the little subscriptions that you get. Um, it was just baffling. It was baffling to me. So really recommend doing that. The next thing is this is probably for some people they'll say late to the market, for others it'll be early, right? But I finally got stocks and shares, so I can finally invest in the market, and so I've started to do that, and I'm like, gosh, like this is so great. One thing I've done for years actually is it's a private pension. So I've been doing that since I was, how old was I? Maybe like 25. So I've been doing that for a good few years now. And my pension's looking pretty. So I've always been somebody that saves for the future, long-term gain. Don't care about being a millionaire next year. I care about being able to retire early and like, you know, get time back, live my life more and all of that stuff. So I've been really, really good. I mean, in a private pension, I contribute quite a bit of my salary to my private pension so I can get my tax relief at the end of the year. And if you do not have a private pension, I cannot express enough how good it is, especially once you hit these six figures, because you can make sure you're contributing enough into your private pension to bring you down that, and then you can get a nice tax relief. So it really benefits you as a high paying tax earner, but you're not really earning enough. You just get shafted by the tax man, basically. So really recommend that if you haven't got that. But I've now got my stocks and shares. I'm now proactively saving. I give myself a really small budget every month. I call that my fun money. So I've got a spreadsheet. I figured it all out, and it's mad how much better I feel about myself. But also, it's made me realize like the odd cheeky habits I had that I just didn't realize I had. So my advice is think about what's going to be beneficial for you and your finances. I'm independent. I have a partner that I live with, but I'm not married. I don't have kids. I don't have pets. I don't have anyone that depends on me. Don't have family relying on me or anything like that. So I'm very fortunate that I can look at my salary and I can think about where I can put it and how I can save it. And not everyone is in a position like that. So that is a very privileged place for me to be. But I just think the audit I did this month on my money, moving was the best thing that helped with that, because we opened a joint account so that all the bills for the flat can go into there. And it just made me open my eyes and realize, wow, it's crazy how quick the money can go. And already I've set myself quite a large saving goal, and I think get paid commission this month. And obviously I hit my target. I actually overachieved. So I get a bit of an accelerator there. Once I save that, I'm going to be, I think, at halfway to my goal for the year, which is ahead of schedule, which is fantastic. And that's all because I sat down, audited my spending, looked at what was going out, looked at what I was doing. And I just think we don't talk about this enough. We are in high paying jobs. I just don't think people are good enough with their money. I think it's so easy to live paycheck to paycheck, even when you earn a good wage. So easily done. So just take this as a bit of advice to please go and do that. Even if you are married and you have kids. I mean, when was the last time you audited? When was the last time you checked your subscriptions? Do you have Amazon Kindle, Amazon Prime? Could you actually bundle those things together and get one subscription instead? I mean, you can't do that with Amazon and Kindle and Prime, but I mean like Netflix, etc. Like, do you have Sky? Could you just combine everything on the Sky package, for example? How could you save money that way? There's apps to help you do this. You got to pay for whatever. But I think if you just sit down and really dedicate the time to actually look at this, you'd be surprised about what you could do. Whoa, that is this week's episode. It's me waffling. I hope hearing my thoughts out loud about a few different things there, managing stress, how to deal with bank holidays. And then obviously finances was an enjoyable listen in some ways. I enjoyed doing this. It's nice to just talk. Feels like this does feel like therapy, which is what me and Harry always said that this was. So I really hope you enjoyed this. Harry will be back next week. I promise we are going to make sure that the two of us get our schedules together properly. It's the first time we've done this. There's 21 episodes, I believe. And this is the first time that we've not been able to get together to record. So that I think is pretty bloody good going. So I'll take it. But there you go. Hope you have an amazing Tuesday. Have a fabulous rest of your week. Please make sure that you like this episode. Please rate us if you haven't already. And there was a lot I chatted about there. I would love for you to add some comments so we can have a conversation. I just really want this to be really interactive and I want to hear what you guys have had to say. That is it. Enjoy the rest of your week, guys. And I will see you next Tuesday back with Harry.